to make that wet noise before attacking. I went still. Over my pounding heart came a lesser version of the sound. The rush of relief made me stumble forward to drop my armful atop the low stone wall, just visible in the creeping dawn. The cow jerked back, then ambled towards us in curiosity, until the child was patting its sloppy nose. I bent my head over her, letting reaction ebb. Estelle Adler was the lovely, bright, half-Chinese child of my husband's long-lost son, Sherlock Holmes' granddaughter. I had made her acquaintance little more than 2 hours before, and known of her existence for less than 3 weeks. But if the maniac who had tried to sacrifice her father, and who had apparently intended to take the child for his own, had appeared from the night, I would not hesitate to give my life for hers. She had been drugged by said maniac the night before, which no doubt contributed to her drowsiness, but now she studied the cow with an almost academic curiosity, leaning against my arms to examine its white-splashed nose, which meant that the light was growing too strong to linger. I settled the straps of my rucksack, lumpy with her possessions, and reached to collect this precious and troublesome burden. "Are you—" she began in full voice. "Shh," I interrupted. "We need to whisper, Estelle." "Are you tired?" She tried again, in a voice that, although far from a whisper, at least was not as carrying. "My arms are," I breathed in her ear, "but I'm fine." "I could ride piggyback," she said. "Are you sure?" "I do with Papa." Well, if she could cling to the back of that tall young man, she could probably hang on to me. I shifted the rucksack around and let her climb onto my back, her little hands gripping my collar. I bent, tucking my arms under her legs, and set off again. Much better. It was a good thing Estelle knew what to do, because I was probably the most incompetent nursemaid ever to be put in charge of a child. I knew precisely nothing about children. The only one I had been around for any length of time was an Indian street urchin 3 times this one's age, and with more maturity than many English adults. I had much to learn about small children, such as the ability to ride pickaback, and the inability to whisper. The child's suggestion allowed me to move faster down the rutted track. We were in the Orkneys, a scatter of islands past the north of Scotland, coming down from the hill that divided the main island's 2 parts. Every step took us farther away from my husband, from Estelle's father, Damien, and from the bloody fire-stained prehistoric altar stone where Thomas Brothers had nearly killed both of them. Why not bring in the police, one might ask? They can be useful, and after all, Brothers had killed at least 3 others. However, things were complicated. Not that complicated wasn't a frequent state of affairs in the vicinity of Sherlock Holmes, but in this case, the complication took the form of warrants posted for my husband, his son, and me. Estelle was the only family member not being actively hunted by Scotland Yard, including, apparently and incredibly, Holmes' brother. For 40-odd years, Mycroft Holmes had strolled each morning to a grey office in Whitehall and settled into a grey job of accounting. Even his long-time personal secretary was a grey man, an ageless, sexless individual with the leaking balloon name of Sousa. Prime ministers came and went. Victoria gave way to Edward, and Edward to George. Budgets were slashed and expanded, wars were fought, decades of bureaucrats flourished and died, while Mycroft walked each morning to his office and settled to his account books. Except that Mycroft's grey job was that of Eminence Grise of the British Empire. He inhabited the shadowy world of intelligence, but he belonged neither to the domestic Secret Service nor to the International Secret Intelligence Service. Instead, he had shaped his own department within the walls of Treasury, one that ran parallel to both the domestic branch and the SI.